So, well, guys, as I told you last time, well, not as I told you, last time we worked on lesson number 9, part 1, right? In which we spoke about history and we went through this vocabulary: revolutions, turning points, spread, development, advances, movements, inventions, foundation, discovery, and progress. Also, we did some exercises, and finally, we went through um, like to the grammar of lesson number 9, part 1, which was hypothetical conditionals for the past, right? In which, in other words, we spoke about conditional type 3. I remember I gave you a homework that you guys, that we are going to check at the end of today's class, which was related to, let me show it to you, to the writing that you are going to have for this week. Now, the writing for this week is going to be an essay, a short essay, but the essay must have these um, these items right here, which are topic sentences and supporting, topic sentence and supporting sentences, as well as they need to have linking words. The homework was looking at the concept of each of these items right here: linking words, linking, topic sentence, and supporting sentences, right? So we're going to check this out later on, and I'm going to explain to you how the writing is going to be, like what is going to be, like what you're going to write about, even though I think I have already told you a little bit about this, and it was last week, but I'll I'll say this to you one more time later when we are done with today's class. And well, today's class actually is going to be based on these two topics, right? So the first grammar topic, or the grammar topic itself that we're going to cover and work on today, is going to be active versus passive. We're going to talk about active voice and passive voice. Now, this is something that you guys have already know, have already practiced, have already been taught, right? Because I know that this is not the first time that you have seen, or that you are going to see, or that you are, yes, that you are going to see active and passive voice, right? So in English and in any other language, but in English, we have two types of voices. They are active and passive. Now, sorry, the active voice refers more to a direct speech, and a passive voice is more like a more formal way of expressing an idea. And it's most likely used when we are, like, for example, in the break in the news, when you don't know the person who you are speaking about, right? When you don't know the person who performs the action, or simply when you are writing, like in the newspaper, for example. You can also find it there. You can also find it in books, and when you want to be formal in writing. So those are the ways, like the main characteristics of the passive voice. So let's get down to it, right? Passive voice. Please let me know if you can see my PowerPoint presentation. Maybe, hang on, just give me a second. What's going on here? Can you see the PowerPoint presentation, guys? Oh, people, can you see the PowerPoint presentation? The slide presentation?
Yes,
All right,
yes.
thank you. Now, the passive, right? Again, even though we are going to be speaking about both, about both active and passive, we are going to emphasize it more, or emphasize this explanation more on the passive form, because the active one is the one we are very used to using even in Spanish. Honestly, when we speak, like, if we make differences between Spanish and English, I'm going to do it right somewhere over here. Let me see if I got some space. I'm gonna do it here. Um, Hang on, hang on, hang on. All right, when it comes to making differences between English and, all right, there's still people coming in. Give me a second. All right, so again, when it comes to differences or making differences between the two languages, our language, Spanish, I'm gonna write down here, Spanish, right? And let's write down here versus English, which is, you know, our father language, English. But we got some distinctions here. We got some differences when it comes to using active. So let's write down here, active, active voice. Let's write down B. Hang on. B and active and passive. I'm sorry, and passive voice. Let's say pass. B. All right, right here. I mean, in Spanish or our Spanish, I mean, we're not speaking about the Spanish from Spain. I'm talking about the Spanish from, you know, from well, our Spanish or Colombian Spanish, right? In Spanish, we use like the active voice a lot. I would say that the 90% of the times we use the active voice in Spanish. But in English, we use, I mean, but the passive voice in Spanish is just like the 10% of it. Like this, the 10% of the time is the time that we use it in English. Spanish, I'm sorry, just got confused myself. And in case of the English, it's like different. We are just like, this is an estimate, and I'm not very sure, but it can be less. Like from the 30 to the 40% of the times, right? We use the active voice. In the case of the passive, we use it the 60 or the 70% of the times, which means that in English we use the passive voice even more than in Spanish. And this is because of the lack of structures that English has. In Spanish, we have a variety of structures that allowed us to use most of the times active voice, mostly for everything, and we just switch between voices whenever we want to sound more formal. But in the case of English, it's different. English has a lack of, I would say, grammar structures to use active voice all the time. For those things that can be used in active, then what English does is that they are used, or English uses the passive form so that those things can be done, right? So this is just like an estimate of how much we used active and passive voice in both the Spanish and English language. So we are very used to using active voice, and when it comes to English, we are not very used to using the passive voice, which is actually the one that is on top when we make distinction or differences between active and passive. Passive in English is on top, right? So let's hang on here. There are two people waiting. All right, so that's what's happening actually with the passive voice. So today we're going to speak about the passive voice, like an active as well, but more the passive. And this is what we are going to be talking about, like the top, yes, like the theme or topic that we're going to be using, which is actually crime and punishment. So let's get down to business. Listen, I am going to read this passage or this small article or paragraph right here, whatever you want to call it, right? And your job is going to, your job is going to be trying to recognize. You're going to listen to me, and you are going to try to recognize which are those sentences that have passive voice, all right? Then you're going to tell me whether the passive voice is already, which is the sentence that contains the passive voice, all right? You're gonna tell me that. So let's start. I'm going to read twice. The first time I'm going to read the whole thing, then I'm going to read like part by part, and you're going to tell me if the sentence or the part I read has passive voice or not, which is the passive voice, and what tense the passive voice is in, right? So let's get started here. On the night of February 12th, the Star video on Main Street was vulgarized. The police reported the following. The glass door was broken and the alarm was disconnected. The suspect, who was watching the video, was found in the back room. Police were led to the suspect by a trail of popcorn and gummy bears. He was taken to the police station for questioning. So that's the whole thing. Now let's read again, but making some pauses so that you can tell me where the passive voice are. So let's do it. On the night of January 12th, Star Video Main Street was vulgarized. Is there passive voice here or not, guys? What do you think?
Yes.
Where?
Star Video on Main Street was vulgarized.
Excellent. Was vulgarized. So here, so far, hang on, let me just put this. This is the passive voice, right? Was vulgarized. The whole sentence, yes, but this is the passive voice itself. Good. And what tense is this, miss? Is this present tense, future, present perfect?
Past participle, I think.
All right. So at the beginning, we got like this is the past participle. This is good, right? Vulgarized. Good. But this is the simple past, right? When it comes about using the passive voice so that we can know which tense is the one we are using, we need to take into account the tense in which the verb to be is, right? If I know that the verb to be is like is or are, then I know that it's in present. If it's was or were, I know it's in past, right? If I have will be, I know that it's in future. So the verb be is the one that is going to tell you which sentence is you are going to be using when the passive voice is used. All right, so let's continue. Very good, miss. This was the first one, so let's keep going. The police reported the following. The glass door was broken and the alarm was disconnected. Is there a passive voice here or not?
Yes, mister.
All right, Miss Maria, which are the passive voice constructions that you can see here?
Okay, the glass door was broken and the alarm was disconnected.
All right, great. So the glass door was broken. So this is the first one. And the alarm was disconnected. This is the second one, right? Great. Let's continue. Now, which tense are they?
Past simple.
Great. Let's move on. The suspect who was watching a video was found in the back room. Is there here any passive voice? I almost got confused. Can you see passive voice here? I repeat, the suspect who was watching the video was found in the back room. Let's see what you think now. Passive
Yes,
or no
yes.
passive? All right, miss, can you tell me where is it passive?
Was found in a back room.
Was found in the back room. Very good. So this is the passive construction. Very good. And it's also in the past simple. It's okay, Mr. Jesus. It's okay. Now, the police were led to the suspect by a trail of popcorns and gummy bears. Passive or not passive?
Yes, passive.
All right, miss. Where is the passive construction?
Police were led.
Great. So where led is the passive voice 2. And finally, he was taken to the police station for questioning. Passive or not passive? So passive or not passive, guys? He was taken to the police station for questioning.
Yes, Mr.
And which is the one, miss? Which is the passive form?
Was taken.
Was taken, right? So as you can see, the passive voice has something similar, has something similar right here, and is that we use a construction, or the construction itself, like the structure itself is the union of two things, right? Two verbs. They are the verb be, like in all the examples, was, were, and was, right? Plus the main verb in the past participle form, like vulgarized, which is regular, broken, which is irregular, disconnected, regular, found, irregular, led and taken, irregular too, right? So, very good, guys. These were the passive voice constructions that we had for this part. But let's continue with the exercise. For this part, I'm going to do the same one more time. I'm going to read, and you're going to tell me the same, right? Where and which tense is the passive voice. So, if a crime is committed, a suspect is usually arrested and taken to jail. A liar is called and the suspect is interviewed. If a trial is necessary, jurors are selected. If the defendant is found guilty, he is sentenced by the judge to serve time in prison. All right, let's go to it one more time. Let's read the first part. If a crime is committed, a suspect is usually arrested and taken to jail. Is there passive voice here?
Yes, mister.
All right, tell me which are the passive voice here, miss.
A crime is committed.
Committed. All right.
Yeah.
No more? All right, we have a crime is committed. Good. But I said that if a crime is committed, a suspect is usually arrested and taken to jail. This is good. Here, a suspect is usually arrested and taken to jail. Can you see passive voice here?
Yes, mister. Is arrested.
All right, so we have here is arrested and taken, right? Now here we have like two verbs altogether, but this is also passive voice. Good. How about here? A lawyer is called and the suspect is interviewed. Passive voice or not?
Yes.
Where?
A lawyer is called and the suspect is interviewed.
Interviewed. All right, so mostly the whole thing, right, is called and is interviewed. All right, good. If a trial is necessary, jurors are selected. Passive voice?
Yes, jurors are selected.
Great, are selected, all right? If the defendant is found guilty, he is sentenced by the judge to serve time in prison. Passive voice?
Yes, is found.
All right. And where else? Or no more passive voice?
Is sentenced.
All right, you got here is sentenced, right? So these again are the passive voice, and one more time, guys, what do they have in common? They have the use of the verb be plus the verb in the past participle form. Again, verb be and the past participle form, verb be and past participle form, verb be, past participle, verb be, past participle, verb be, past participle, and verb be and past participle. The only thing that is different, that is different from this, there are different of this example from the last examples are that These examples are all in, take a look, in the present simple. We are using is and are, but in the past ones we were using was and were. So this is how we recognize the tense. The verb be is the one that is going to tell you in which tense the passive voice is being used. All right. Now, when it comes to passive voice, we have like, we can use passive voice in all tenses. There are 12 tenses in English, and in all those 12 tenses, you can use passive voice. However, not all of them are very common. I mean, using passive voice for the future perfect is not very common, for example, right? But the 5, let's write 5. They are 4, but let's say 5 tenses are those tenses that are the most common when it comes to using the passive voice. And they are the past simple, the present simple, the present continuous, the present perfect, in the future simple, right? So these are the 5 different tenses that you guys can use the passive voice. Normally, they are the most common ones. It doesn't mean that the other tenses cannot be used. Actually, they can be used, but they are not very common. So let's get started. Let's continue right here, guys. So we got this, and this is, like the structure of the passive voice. If you know this, you know how to use the passive voice. That's it, right? So we use the most important part for the passive voice. The most important part is the verb be. If you don't use the verb be here, guys, then it's not going to be passive voice for sure. The verb be always has to be there, all right, in the passive voice. Then plus the verb be, we got the past participle form. And if necessary, if you want to, but it's not obligatory, you can use by plus the person that performs the action, like in this. It's actually the same thing, but it is in parentheses one more time because it is not mandatory, it is not necessary. Only if you want to mention it, or only if you want to use it, you use it, right? So let's see some examples right here. Subject, star video was vulgarized, right? Star video was vulgarized. Again, la tienda Star Video fue atracada o fue robada, right? You got it right here. Fue, right? In which was, that's what it means. I'm using the verb be in the past tense, so that's why I'm referring to the past tense right here. Am I telling you right here in this sentence, Star Video was vulgarized? Am I telling you who stole or who vulgarized the store?
No.
No, right? Is it necessary that I tell you that?
No.
No, right? Because the most important part is what was done. What receives the action of vulgarizing or stealing in this case. What receives or who receives the action of vulgarizing? The Star Video in this case was vulgarized, and is the thing or the place that receives the action of getting stolen, right? Another example is this one. The videos were not stolen. The videos were not stolen. Again, I'm not using the person who didn't steal the who didn't steal the videos, right? I'm not telling you who the person is, right? Do you care, or do we care about the person who did not touch any of the videos? We don't care about it, right? It is not necessary to speak about him. So again, we just speak about the action. About the thing or the person that received the action of stealing. In this case, not stealing, which is actually this one, right? The videos. And as last example, we got the following. Take a look. A case is being reviewed by a judge. The case is being reviewed by a judge. So what is this? Take a look. Here, I am using by a judge. Is it okay if I eliminate by a judge, guys? Is it okay if I do this? Does it make sense to you if I do this? If I eliminate it, a case is being reviewed. Does it make sense to you?
It's okay because it isn't necessary.
Yeah, it's okay because it isn't necessary. It isn't important. It isn't relevant, right? We don't care about who reviewed the case. So the only thing we care about is that a case, which is actually what receives, is receiving the action of being reviewed, or in this case of reviewing. All right, so this is it. And as you can see here, the verb be is telling you again, I repeat, it's telling you which tense the sentence is expressed, right? So here is in the past simple, here is also in the past simple, even though this is the plural form. And here, what tense is this, guys? The last example, what tense is that one?
Present continuous.
There you get it. Here we got present continuous, which is here we are using the combination of two verbs to be, is and being. Now, as this is a continuous sentence, I have to use the continuous form, but don't get confused here because one be means one thing and the second be means another thing. So let's translate this sentence into Spanish. Can you guys translate it? This means revisar, right? Try to translate it into Spanish, please.
Un caso
está siendo revisado por un juez.
There you got it. El caso, o un caso en este caso, right? Un caso está siendo revisado. Take a look. Is means está, and being means siendo. All right, so let's continue from where we left off, which is, I mean, we were like explaining and analyzing each of the parts and each of, yes, each of the parts of the passive voice, all right? So we already spoke about this, so let's move to the next slide. Now, let's see. Now, active versus passive. And this is the first like versus that we see between passive and active, right? So, active voice, as I had already told you, we have two types. We have active voice and passive voice. Now, the active sentences focus on the agent, sorry, the doer of the action, or the person or thing doing the action. That's what agent means, right? Or the subject in other words, right? So active sentences focus on the agent, person or thing doing the action, and the passive sentences focus on the object, person or thing receiving the action, right? So the object itself, when we speak about the passive sentences, is actually the action, the thing or the person that receives the action, all right? This is something that I had already explained in the previous examples, in these examples right here, that we have the receiver of this action, and here, the thing or the person who does the action, right? So let's continue with the example. So take a look at here. We have this picture. We have a police officer and a thief, right? Or a criminal. So it says here, the police arrested the criminal. What type of sentence is this? Is this active voice or passive voice? What do you think?
Active. Active.
Yes, so active voice is just the normal way we speak, right? The normal version, the normal type of sentences that we normally use when we expressed or when we speak when we express something or when we speak English, right? So that's active voice. There you got it. Subject, verb, and here as the last thing we got a complement, right? In this case, an object that is like the thing or the person that receives the action. Active voice, good. So again, this is the doer of the action, or in other like in other words, like the doer of the action or the agent, right? Here in arrested, we have the active voice, and then we got the complement, right? Now, take a look at this same but second example here. Now, the criminal was arrested by the police. Now, are these the same sentences? I mean, the sentence maybe, I mean, we are using the same words. Yes, we are. But we are like, you know, like changing the order of the words because the words are the same, but the order of those words are different, right? Now, here in the first one, in the active voice, we have the subject or the agent in the first position. But here we have the criminal, which is the one, the person or the thing, in this case, a person who receives the action. What is the action? In this case, the action is expressed in the passive voice and is arrested. So the criminal is receiving the action of arresting, of being arrested, right? And again, at the end here, we have by the police. Is it okay, guys? One more time, I'm going to ask you the same question. I know you have already answered it, but is it okay if I eliminate this part here and I say the criminal was arrested? Is that good? Is that okay? Does it make sense to you or not? So what do you think, guys? Is it okay if I eliminate this part here by the police, like the subject or the agent of the sentence?
I think no, because it's necessary.
So you think it is necessary, or you think that
Yes,
is all right?
it's
Now listen. Actually, you can, guys, like in this part, you can eliminate this. I said it to you before, right? Let's go back to it. Hang on, just give me a second. Here, remember I told you that by can be omitted. I mean, you can use it if you want to, but is not necessary, is not important. I mean, you don't have to use it if you don't want to, right? Only if you want to mention or give some credit to the person who is performing the action. Like in these cases, the only case, take a look here, I don't use him by in this first sentence. I don't need to, right? It's not necessary. In the second one, it's not necessary. And in the third one, it's not necessary, but I decided that I want to say the name of the person, or I want to show you who performed the action of reviewing, right? So I use it right here. So again, when we use by plus the agent itself, right? It is not necessary, guys. It only, I mean, it is only necessary. It is, I mean, you can use it only if you think is, I mean, if you think you have to use it, right? If you think that you want to give credit to the person who performed the action, like here the most important thing is the criminal was arrested, that's it, right? But if I want to give some credit to the person who arrested the criminal, right? In this case, who arrested the criminal? Well, the police, right? So in this case, I can go ahead and use the police with no problem, right? Here you are. But again, if I eliminate by the police, it's okay. No problem. Everything is going to be all right. Everything is going to be fine. It is not necessary, right? I'm going to show you like later on how to use by and all these things. So let's move on. So here, I have already told you this, like this part. And well, we got active voice and passive voice. In the case of the passive voice, sorry, active voice, we have this sentence. Your job, take a look, I'm going to show you this sentence, like a judge reviews the case. Your job is changing or transforming this sentence, this active voice sentence, into a passive voice sentence. All right, so go ahead, guys, please. A judge reviews the case. Go ahead. All right, so a judge reviews the case.
Mister, I want,
Go ahead, miss.
okay, the case is reviewed by a judge.
Great. That was excellent. Now, is it necessary, one more time, to use by a judge? Can I say the case is reviewed and that's it? Do I really have to use by a judge?
Job, if you have to use that.
All right, only if you want to, right? It is not necessary to use it. So if I eliminate it, it's fine. But very good, miss. Perfect. Now, another example. Someone removed the videos. Someone removed the videos. All right, turn it into passive.
The videos was removed.
All right. Is that correct, guys? What do you
The
think?
videos were removed.
Thank you, Miss Madeleine. Miss Maria, videos
I
are
see, I
plural,
forget it.
right? Are
Yes.
plural. So that's why we use word in this case. So very good job. Here you're using is the present simple because this, I mean the original sentence is in the present simple. And here you're using the past simple, great, because the original sentence is also in the past simple. So very good, guys. Now let's move on the last example here. The jury didn't find the defendant guilty. Turn it into passive, please. The jury didn't find the defendant guilty. Turn it into passive. Right, guys, the passive version of this sentence. The jury didn't find the
Mister,
defendant guilty.
I'm not sure. I'm not
All right,
sure.
go ahead. Go ahead.
The defendant quality find didn't find the jury.
All right. It's incorrect, miss. Something that you must take into account, please don't forget this. Let's go back to here just for a minute. Remember that in the passive voice, you always need to use, take a look, the verb be. So didn't is not possible. Then you have to use the verb be plus the past participle form of the verb. So let's go back to the one, right? So how would it be here itself? Guilty means culpable. Culpable. And this means acusado. So let me ask you something. Who is the person or the thing that receives the action of finding right here in this sentence? Can you please answer that? Who is the person or the thing that receives the action of finding?
The defendant guilty.
All right, the defendant. Guilty is just like the complement. Take a look at the what, try to do it first in Spanish. Let's try. I'm going to give you some chances. Let's translate this in Spanish. El jurado encontró al culpable, al acusado, culpable. El jurado encontró, no encontró al acusado culpable. So, guilty es simplemente un complemento.
Complement.
Right? Complement. But what receives or who receives the action of finding is the defendant. So let's do it in Spanish. Si aquí dice el jurado no encontró al acusado culpable, ¿cómo sería en pasivo en español? Try to do it in Spanish.
Me.
Go ahead, mister.
The defendant wasn't found guilty by the jury.
All right, excellent. That's the English version. Excellent, all right? So, el acusado no fue encontrado culpable ¿por quién? Por el jurado, right? So there you go. The way that Jesus did it is perfect. The defendant wasn't found guilty. If I want to use, or if I want to mention, remember that is optional. If I want to mention who did this or who didn't do this, then I use by the jury, but it's not necessary. One more time, right? So Jesus, very good, good. So again, active voice and passive voice. So guys, if you ever find yourself a little, stuck or a little confused when making a passive voice sentence, ask these questions. So let's do it right here. I have the verb. I have to find first. I have to find the verb, like reviews, removed, and didn't find, right? Those are the verbs. Then I have to ask a question. What then, or who receives the action of reviewing? In this case, the case, right? Who receives the, who or what then receives the action of removing? Then I can say someone or the videos, of course the videos, right? Who or what then receives the action of finding? In this case, the defendant. If you answer that question, then you can easily go ahead and find how you are going to start or the way you should start a passive voice sentence, right? So don't forget that that is like a tip you could use in case you ever feel stuck or trapped or confused on a creation of a passive voice sentence. So let's move on, guys, and take a look. Identify the agent and the receiver of the action. Let's practice some, right? Are the verbs active or passive? Let's see. Number one, is this active voice or passive voice?
Active voice.
How about number two?
Passive voice.
All right. Now, in the first one, which is the agent, or in the two of them? Which of the sentence has an agent and which of the sentences have a receiver? Or where is the receiver in each of the sentences and where is the agent in each of the sentences? So let's begin with the first one. Where is the agent here in this sentence? Remember that the agent is the person or the thing that performs the action.
The lawyer.
All right. And the receiver?
The jury.
All right, good. And how about here? Where is the agent? Which is the agent? What do you think in the second one? Which is the agent?
It's the same, no.
The same, Mr. Jesus. So the agent is the lawyer and the receiver is the jury. In other words, it doesn't matter if we are using this sentence because it's the same sentence, right? It doesn't matter if the sentence is in active or in passive, right? The idea is the same. The meaning is the same, right? But the construction is different. And what is the real difference apart from the construction itself or the structure itself is that the active voice is just like the direct way of expressing an idea, and the passive voice is just like more formal or a more formal way of expressing this idea right here, right? So, el abogado instructed, I don't know how to say this in Spanish, instruyó, right? Instruyó o le dio instrucciones al jurado, right? El abogado le dio instrucciones al jurado. Ahora, el jurado fue instruido por el abogado. I mean, the same thing, but the only thing that changes is that this one is more formal than the first one. That's it, right? So here, again, this is the agent, this is the agent too, and this is the receiver. This is the receiver too, right? Good. Let's do the same here. What type is this? Is this active or passive? The first one.
Passive voice.
Good. And the second one?
Active voice.
All right. Where is the agent in the first one? Which one, miss?
The judge.
The judge, right? And the receiver, of course, is the case. The same thing here. This is the agent and this is the receiver. As you can see, la manera normal en como normalmente nos enseña la voz pasiva es que llevemos el sujeto al final, como en el caso de esto, el sujeto va al final y el objeto va al principio de la oración. Es decir, cambiamos las posiciones entre sujetos y objetos, right? Pero yo le estoy, what I'm trying to tell you is like the way you use it, right? The way you use it. So it's good, it's good. This is the receiver and this is the agent all the way here. So, good. Now, the use of the passive voice itself, again, we use them, guys. I already told you when and in which situations to use it, but normally we use the passive voice when the agent of the action is unknown or not important or is not necessary, right? So for example, here, take a look. We have a picture of a criminal. A picture of a criminal. Now, if I say this, the pictures and pictures and fingerprints are taken. Am I telling you who was the person who took the pictures and took the fingerprints? No, right? Do I know the person who took the pictures and fingerprints? Taking this sentence into account, it is important that you know who the person that took the pictures and fingerprints is. No, right? Not important. So this is the reason why I'm telling you that by is not important. But let's imagine that you know who is the person who took the pictures and who took the fingerprints. Let's all imagine, but that person is me, Johan. So what do? Pictures and the fingerprints are taken what? By Johan, right? That's it, no more. So whenever you know or whenever you want to give the credit to the person who performed the action, right? Or perform the action, you use by, right? So good. In this case, we're not using by. We have another example here. Take a look. Jurors are selected. Jurors are selected. Now, when I say jurors are selected, am I telling you the person who selected the juror? Do I know the person who selected the juror, or is it important that we all know the person that selected the juror? No, right? All of those questions that I just asked have the same answer. No, right? Again, it is not necessary, it is not important, or maybe I don't know the person who did this action. But let's pretend one more time, that you know the person who did this, who selected the jurors, right? Who selected these people here. And again, you know that the person who did this was Johan. So you say jurors are selected what? Jurors are selected what, guys? I say it again. Remember, let's imagine this time that you know who was the person who selected the jurors, or these people to be in the jury, right? So the jurors, and the person was me, Johan. So if I got this, the jurors are selected, and you know the person, what do you have to do?
By Johan.
That's it, no more, right? This is as easy as that, just using by when you know the person or when you want to give credit to the person. That's it, right? So please don't forget this. There you go, and let's move on this one more time. So the passive voice for the second use, we use it when we want to avoid mentioning the agent again. Maybe in this case, let's imagine let's imagine that this here, this time, let's say that you know the person, right? Now you know the person. Like, for example, Paula committed a crime. You know Paula because you are saying that that was the person who committed the crime, right? Paula committed the crime. But, you know, you don't want to be in problems, or you just don't want to say the name of the person because it could be a little annoying or whatever, right? Because this is something serious, committing a crime. So you prefer to stay quiet and not saying any names, right? In this case, you know the name, but you're avoiding mentioning the name of the person or the person who performed the action of committing a crime, right? So what do? You just eliminate the name of the person, and we got something like this. Like in this case, right, you know Paulo, and you know that Paulo is the responsible of a crime, right? You know him. He's your neighbor. He lives just next door, right? Imagine you're in your house, living in your house, and Paulo lives next door, and he committed a crime, right? You know him. He's your best friend. You know him. But now you just want to avoid mentioning his name. You know he committed a crime, but you don't want to say his name or mention his name for any reason. And then you say something like this. A crime was committed. A crime was committed. In this sentence right here, am I telling you who did the crime? Am I telling you who committed the crime? Not at all, right? So even if I know this time, even if I know the person, even if the person who committed the crime this time was my best friend, hey, if I don't want to mention for some reason, right? If I don't want to mention his name, if I just don't want to say who did the crime, hey, I just omit it and that's it. By using the passive form like this. Oh, the crime was committed. That crime was committed. A crime was committed. Oh, next door, a crime was committed. I mean, whatever, right? You are not mentioning the person who performed the action one more time. But if I want to tell you the name of the person who performed the action, I know the name of the person one more time, but now I want to tell you, right? I want you to know. What do? A crime was committed by Paula. I say by Paula. That's why I tell you that like the agent of the action or the person or the thing that committed the action is not necessary or can be omitted only when you want to give credit to the person that performed the action. So this is it, right? In this case, we don't know who did the action, but you know that we don't know because it was Paula. We don't know who is the responsible. Now, let's move on here. Now, most likely, like normally in most, I'm gonna say like this, normally in most of the passive voice sentences and the ones in which we want to mention the name of the person or the thing that performed the action, right? We can use the preposition by. So take a look at what it says here. Use by when it is important to know who performs the action. There you got it. So the video store was vulgarized. That's it. That's all I care about. But if I also want you to know who did this, then I say by a former employee. I have repeated this like 50,000 times already, but I want this to be clear. Now, the information is surprising, and this information is telling you who the performer or the doer of the action was. There you go. Let's practice some here. So change the sentence from active to passive. You're going to do the same that you did before. So the lawyers submitted evidence. This is active voice. Guys, please turn it into passive voice, please. Turn it into passive. Guys, please turn that sentence into passive. The lawyers submitted evidence.
Evidence was submitted by the liars.
Great. Perfect, right? Evidence was submitted by the lawyers. Perfect. Now, you got 3 more, and I want you to do them straight away. Number 1, the witness answered the questions. All right, go ahead and do it.
The
Turn it.
questions were answered by the witness.
Very good, right? The questions were answered by the witness, or the questions were answered. Remember that this part is not important, but very good, Miss Maria. Number 2, the prosecution raised objections. Prosecution means la fiscalía, right? So the prosecution raised objections. There you go, passive voice. The prosecution raised objections. Passive voice, guys.
Objections were raised.
Great. Objections were raised. Great. By the prosecution, if you want to, right? Now, 3, users take notes. Passive.
Notes are taken by jurors.
Yes, that's it, right? If you want to omit by jurors, it's also perfect. It's also fine. So take a look. So far, you're doing good sentences, or you are creating great and excellent sentences into the passive voice, right? Great. Let's continue. Wow, guys, is this clear so far?
Yes.
All right. So let's move, because we haven't finished yet, but let's move to another PowerPoint presentation. Now in this one, I'm going to show you like which are the most common tenses in which we use passive voice, right? And for this, we are going to work with these pictures. So take a look at here, and we say Costa Rica and the environment, the good and the bad. So the good is going to be on the left, and the bad is going to be on the right. So take a look at the first picture right here. Hang on, sorry. The first picture right here, we have a little boy planting a plant, right? And we have this. Many trees are being planted by environmental organizations, and 25% of the land is being protected through national parks. Now, do we have passive voice here, guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
All right, and which tense are we using here, miss? Like so far, we have used present simple and past simple, but are we using a different tense here?
Present continuous.
Yes, present continuous. And we have 2 right here. Let me show them up to you. So we have, hang on, let me move this a little bit. Now, many trees are being planted, and the 25% of the land here is being protected, right? So take a look. Both those 2 passive voice sentences are in the present progressive, right? Good. And here, by the present progressive, it shows you that the action is happening right now, right? In this very same moment. Now, next example, here, take a look. In this picture, we have a beach, and take a look at the ground, like the shore here is full of trash. and plastic bottles, all of this stuff here. Now take a look. The beaches are being polluted by people who throw trash on the ground. Do we have passive voice here, guys?
Yes, mister.
Where, miss?
Are being polluted.
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 All right,
Present
good.
continuous.
Present continuous. One more time. Is telling you that, I mean, this sentence tells you that in this very same moment, there are people walking on the street, and that people walking on the street, I mean, on the street, on the beach, and that people walking on the beach are throwing trash to the ground, right? Or on the ground. That's what it's telling you right now. All right, let's move to the next example right here. So in this picture we have here, take a look at here, they are called windmills, abanicos de viento, right? So windmill farms have been built to produce clean energy. Do we have present, I'm sorry, present, do we have passive voice here?
Yes, mister.
Which one, miss?
Have been built.
All right, now this is a different one from the ones we have already seen. So far we have seen present simple, past simple, present progressive, and this is a new one,
Present perfect.
present
Present perfect.
perfect. Yeah, and this tells you that this was an action that started sometime in the past and continued up to the present, and it's still happening now, all right? So that's what it tells you right now here, why windmills have been built to produce clean energy. Now, let's move to this example right here. We have like a kind of river or lake or ocean, I mean, or beach. Let's see how you call it. Let's call it a river, all right? And take a look at this tube right here that is dumping wastes into the river. So this is dirty water, right? Dirty water dumped into the river. Something bad, right? Contamination. So let's see here. This is the example. Dirty water from cities is being dumped into the rivers and oceans because they are, I mean, they're adding enough facilities, waste facilities. So, do we have here passive voice?
Yes, mister.
Where?
Is being dumped. How pronounce that? Dump.
Dumped.
Dump.
Is
Is
being,
present continuous.
very good, is being dumped. Again, it tells you that in this very same moment, the action of dumping dirty water into the ocean is happening now, right? Now, take a look at this example here. Here we have some, this is like recycling. Take a look, papel, aluminio, plástico, and vidrio, right? This is in Spanish right here, but of course, we need it in English. So there you go. Recycling programs have been started by small communities who are trying to make a difference. Passive voice here?
Yes.
Well,
Have been started.
all right, there you got it. Present, perfect.
Perfect.
There you get it, all right? So let's continue on the next example. Remember what I explained to you at the beginning, right? At the beginning, I told you that in Spanish, we use more the active than the passive voice. But in English, we use more the passive voice than the active voice, right? So you need to try to practice more the passive voice in your speech. So whenever you're speaking, guys, try to use the passive voice. Yeah, maybe it's going to sound more formal, but you're going to find yourself in some cases in which there's no way to use the active voice and you have to use the passive to express the same idea or the idea that you have in your brain, right? In your mind. So that's what I'm trying to say to you. Please, from now on, try to practice more passive voice in your speech. So let's move on. Now let's like emphasize on the present continuous and the present perfect for the passive voice right here. Aren't you gonna let me pass? All right, there you go. Remember that for the present continuous, well, the present continuous speaks about an action that is happening right now, at this moment, right? At the moment of speaking. As I am speaking, an action is happening, is occurring, all right? So this action, if I say the beaches are being polluted, then what I imagine or what I understand by this sentence is that in this very same moment, there are people walking on the beach and they are polluting the beach, right? Maybe, I mean, that's what it means. Or in a general view, it means that everybody pollutes the beach, right? That's what it means. In the case, because the action is happening right now. In the case of the present perfect, well, you know that the present perfect refers to an action that is started in the past and continues up to the present. So this action, remember that I told you sometimes we use the present perfect when the action occurred recently, como que acaba de pasar, or is still happening in the present, right? So goes from the past to the present. That's the present perfect. So the beaches have been polluted, es las playas han sido contaminadas, que han sido contaminadas se refiere a que lo hicieron en el pasado, en el presente se contaminan y probablemente en el futuro continúen siendo contaminadas, right? So that's what I mean by the transition from the past to the present. And why not? There might be a possible future for this, right? And well, those are like the uses of the present continuous and the past continuous. So let's review all the examples that so far we have seen, and they are: the beaches are being polluted by people, many trees are being planted by environmental organizations, recycling programs have been started by small communities, the air is being polluted by fumes from too many cars, and 25% of land is being protected by national parks. Yeah, all of these sentences have something in common. They have a receiver, they have an action, and the action is in the passive voice because we have the verb be plus the verb in the past participle form, and the doer is most likely introduced by the preposition by. Now remember that, well, I told you before that by is used most of the time, but it doesn't mean that it's the only preposition that we use for the present, for the passive voice. There are other prepositions that we use, like in the following examples that we have right here. Dirty water from cities is being dumped into the rivers and oceans. This is more like omitting a doer and just having more a complement. Here, the windmills farms have been built to produce clean energy. This is telling me like a purpose too, right? A purpose for something or to something. You got it right here. So here in these two sentences, I am not using by, and this is because I am not mentioning the person that performed this action, right? Now, not only, I mean, these are not only like these into and to are not the prepositions or the only prepositions that we use different from by. Actually, we have some others, and I'm going to show them to you. So the prepositions for the passive voice. Before showing you which are the prepositions for the passive voice, I want you to take something into account, right? And is that for the passive voice, we can never, ever use the following. I'm going to do it right here. We cannot use the preposition for. The preposition for cannot be used for the passive voice. For example, let me give you an example, right? Like right here. Take a look at this example right here. Guys, is this correct to say like the lesson is being lectured by, for Johan? Take a look.
No.
No, right?
It's incorrect.
Este es un error que normalmente la gente o los estudiantes en general, no solamente voy a hablar de la gente, sino de estudiantes en general, right? Cometen cuando usan la voz pasiva. Pues normalmente nosotros usamos y sabemos que por o para se traduce en inglés for, right? Pero en la voz pasiva, cuando nos referimos a ese por o para, normalmente es by, right? So never for. So please remember, for is not a preposition that we use in the passive voice, right? It's not a preposition that we use in the passive voice, all right? Now, let's move on to the ones we use. And here we have this example. Recycling programs have been started. Oh, we have to. All right, I'm going to delete my annotations. Hang on. There you are. So, recycling programs have been started, then I say, by the small communities. By is the preposition that explains what or who is doing the action. You already know that. Can I use for? No, I cannot use for here. I already explained this. And in this second example, we have the other prepositions like the air is being polluted because of fumes from too many cars, as a result of fumes from too many cars, through fumes from too many cars, or due to fumes from too many cars, right? As you can see right here, different from by, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 other prepositions that we can use in the passive voice, right? Now, because of means debido a in Spanish, right? As a result of is similar to Spanish como resultado de, through, a través, and due to, debido a, which has a similar or the same meaning than because of, but the use between because of and due to is different. We use because of, let me annotate it for you right here. Hang on. So, because, because of versus due to, right? Now, we use, are you going to let me do it or not? All right, so because of, right, because of, we use it for two things. All right, let's do it like this. All right, because of, we do it for two things. We use it for, let me see, number one, positive sentences, right? Or positive ideas. I'm going to write down here positive ideas, positive ideas. And it can also be used for negative ideas, right? Because of can be used for both positive and negative ideas. In the case of due to, oh, hang on, so sorry. In the case of due to can only be used for one thing, for one reason, and is for speaking about negative. We need to do it like this. Negative ideas, right? So, because of y due to significan lo mismo, debido a, ¿cierto? Pero el uso de because of es ambos, para ideas positivas e ideas negativas. Pero en el caso de due to es meramente negativo, right? Entonces, si tenemos este ejemplo aquí, the air is being polluted, fumes from too many cars, right? Now, we use this because this action is consequential of the doer. This is the doer, right? Es la consecuencia que, bueno, de la persona que realiza la acción como tal. Entonces, ¿ustedes qué creen? ¿Que esta oración es algo, tiene una, ¿cómo sería? ¿Tiene una idea negativa o una idea positiva? What do you think? La idea que usamos aquí, ¿es negativa o positiva? The air is being polluted due to fumes from too many cars. Is that positive or negative? What do you think? Contaminar el aire. ¿Eso es algo positivo o negativo? All right. La idea, al ser negativa, pues yo podría usar due to, porque due to es meramente negativo. Right? Pero, si yo tengo una idea positiva, yo no puedo usar due to. En ese caso, ¿qué debo usar? Si es positiva la idea, ¿debo usar?
Because of.
Exacto, porque la idea es positiva. Ok, aquí me comí algo y no me habían dicho nada. Positive. What is positive, Johan? Positive. All right. Positive. Positive ideas. Pero en el caso de because of, pues yo lo puedo usar como yo quiera, ¿cierto? Tanto para ideas positivas como para ideas negativas en este caso. También puedo usarlo. The air is being polluted because of fumes from too many cars. All right, guys. Is this clear for you? Was this clear?
Yes, mister.
All right. Now, this is the whole thing on the passive voice, guys. Do you have any question? Do you have any doubt on the passive voice? I mean, you just told me it was clear, but do you have any other, like a question that you would like to ask me for the passive voice or regarding the passive voice? Or is 100% clear? All right. By your silence, I can assume that it was clear. All right. Hopefully it was. Maybe you need more practice. This is something that you are going to do right now in the book. And also you are going to find extra practice in the platform. So I hope you practice a lot now, right? So we haven't finished. We finished on the passive voice, but to finish, I wanted to show you like a general view of the passive voice. Now, this is like a chart in which I show you, in which I want to show you like all the tenses in English and that they can be used like grammatically correctly. Like you can use the passive voice grammatically correct, right? But they are, as I said to you before, we have five main common tenses for the passive voice, right? Aquí estoy mostrándole todos los tiempos del inglés, 12 tiempos como tal, ¿cierto? No cuenten los condicionales porque los condicionales es uno solo, solamente que estoy colocando en cada recuadro un condicional, ¿cierto? Entonces tenemos aquí 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 y 12, right? 12 tiempos en español, quitando como tal el infinitivo, ya que no es un tiempo, right? So, en todos los tiempos, como ya les había dicho previamente, se puede usar gramaticalmente y de manera correcta, se puede usar la voz pasiva. Pero, solamente hay 5 tiempos comunes, que son las que ya les había dicho. ¿Cuáles son los tiempos comunes? A ver, recuérdenme ustedes, porque a mí se me olvidó. ¿Cuáles son esos tiempos en los cuales se usan comúnmente la voz pasiva?
Present simple, past simple, present perfect, present continuous.
That's it, right? Esos son los 4 tiempos comunes. Sin embargo, les había dicho que un quinto tiempo podría también ser un poco común, aunque no tanto como los otros. ¿Qué sería cuál? Let's see if you remember. This one right here. Take a look.
Future.
Futuro simple, right? Entonces, here tenemos un ejemplo con el infinitivo. Esto no se los mostré, pero les voy a dar un ejemplo en este momento. Escribámoslo acá. My car needs to be washed. Take a look. My car needs to be washed. Aquí estoy usando la voz pasiva de manera usando un infinitivo, es decir, to be, right? Usando el infinitivo. Aquí lo estoy usando justo en este ejemplo de acá, right? Esto no, pues, es bastante común, de hecho, es bastante común, pero como les repito, infinitivo no es un tiempo, el infinitivo es simplemente un modo, right? Entonces, los tiempos como tal son presente, en el ejemplo, it is washed, es lavado, right? Past simple, it was washed, ¿qué sería? ¿Qué significaría it was washed?
Fue lavado.
Fue lavado, right? In the future, it will be washed.
Será lavado.
Será lavado en el caso del carro, right? My car will be washed. Here, in the conditional, it would be washed.
Podría ser
Sería
lavado.
lavado.
Sería, recuerdan que would no significa poder, chicos. Siempre les digo lo mismo.
Sería.
Would be washed. Sería lavado. All right? Good. Ojo, en condicional esto no es algo muy común. Sin embargo, la construcción, la estructura es gramaticalmente correcta. Eso no quiere decir que no la vayan a encontrar, que porque no es común no la vayan a encontrar. Puede que la encuentren, especialmente en un libro. Sí, más que todo en libros lo pueden encontrar. Here, in the continuous tenses, all right? Present continuous. It is being washed.
Eso está siendo lavado.
All right. En este carro, con eso me refiero al carro, ¿cierto? Está siendo lavado en este momento. No me importa quién lo está haciendo, solo que se está lavando. Continuous, but with the past form, right? Past continuous. It was being washed.
Estaba siendo lavado.
Estaba siendo lavado o estuvo siendo lavado. Nuevamente, no es muy común como tal, right? ¿Cuál es el común acá? Presente continuo. De los continuos, ¿cuál es el más común? Aquí tenemos todos los simples más el continuo en presente, ¿cierto? El continuo en pasado y en futuro no son, ni siquiera condicional, no son comunes, chicos. Con futuro, continuo. It will be being washed. ¿Cómo sería eso? ¿Cómo traducirían eso? Intenten traducirlo. Les doy una ayuda. A ver. ¿Estará qué?
Siendo lavado.
Estará siendo lavado. Ojo, eso suena, tiene sentido, pero es una construcción bastante compleja, right? Aquí, it would be being washed. Estaría siendo lavado. Nuevamente una construcción compleja. No común, pero compleja. Les repito, los comunes son presente, pasado y futuro simple y presente, continuo y el que viene ahora. Presente perfecto. It has been washed. ¿Qué sería? Ha estado siendo lavado. Right? Hablando del carro. Pasado perfecto ya no es común. So past, it had been washed. Había sido lavado, perdón. Futuro perfecto. It will have been washed. Este sí bueno, yo lo he usado. Habría sido lavado, perdón. Habría sido lavado. Conditional, it would have been washed. También lo he usado, por cierto, aunque no es muy común, repito. Habría sido lavado, right? Los tiempos que están en rojos, estos que están acá abajo, chicos, ya estos sí no son usados como tal, pero repito, son gramaticalmente correctos. Esto les muestro esta tablita es para que vean que se puede usar en todos los tiempos, alright? Pero los más comunes ya les dije que son 5, que repito nuevamente para que quede súper claro. Presente simple, pasado simple, presente continuo, presente perfecto, y por último, futuro simple, que fue el último que añadí a la lista. All right? Entonces, chicos, siendo esto, ¿está claro todo?
Yes.
All right. Good,
Yes,
guys. Good, guys. So that's it for today. That's it. So let's practice before we finish. Here, we have this part right here. Take a look. I am going to read, and you are going to tell me where, like I'm going to read part by part, and you're going to tell me, teacher, that is passive voice, and you're going to tell me also the tense. All right?
Mr. What page?
This is page 107. Page 107. I am going to read, and you're going to tell me where is the passive voice and in which tense is the passive voice. All right? There you go. Let's begin. Let me just get the annotations done. Hang on, just give me a second. The annotations done. All right. After World War II, a generation was born that has come to be known as baby boomers. Passive voice or not? After World War II, a generation was born that has come to be known as baby boomers. Passive voice or not here? People, passive voice or not?
Passive voice.
All right, and where is the passive voice? And which tense is the passive voice?
To be known as baby boomer.
All right, that's one. You can also have, take a look, was born and to be known as baby boomers are two passive voice that we have here. All right, let's continue. And they are both, I mean, this is in the past simple and this is in the, I just explained this to you. Take a look, to be, this is the infinitive form.
infinitive.
All right, so they are thought to be healthier, wealthier, and more optimistic than any previous generation. Passive or not?
Yes, mister.
Where?
They are thought.
All right, they are thought. There you are. You got it here.
Present simple.
Very perfect, miss. Let's continue. They were followed by Generation X, a name that was invented by photographer Robert Capa. Passive voice?
Yes.
Where?
They were followed.
They were followed. All right.
Past simple.
Past simple.
And was invented.
Was invented.
Past simple.
Past simple as well. Very good, miss. Generation X includes people born between the mid-60s and the early 80s. Passive voice here? Or active voice? What do you think? Generation X includes people born between the mid-60s and the early 80s. Passive? All right, that is active voice here. Very good. This generation is sometimes called the MTV generation because it is, it supposedly grew up watching music videos. Passive or not?
Yes.
Where?
Is sometimes called.
Called. All right. It's sometimes called the MTV generation.
Present simple.
Very good, present simple. Now, Generation X is known for entrepreneurship and open-mindedness in regard to race, gender, class, and religion. Passive voice?
Yes.
Yes.
Where?
Is
no.
Is none. Good. Tense?
Present simple.
Good. Now, the following Generation X following Generation X is Generation Y, or millennials, who were born between the early 1980s and the 2000s. And okay, That was it. Passive or not?
Yes, were born.
All right, got it there. Tense? Which tense?
Past simple.
Great, excellent. Let's continue. They are known for being confident, informal, and desperate to show their and to share their lives with others via social networking. Passive or not?
Yes, are known.
Great.
Yes.
Which tense?
Present simple.
All right, so they arrive at a time of great technological change and perhaps the first generation that is being educated for jobs that may not exist at the moment. Passive?
It
Yes.
Where?
is educated.
Is being
Great.
educated.
Is being
Present
educated.
continuous.
Present continuous, right? So take a look that it's easy now for you to like to recognize where and what type of of passive voice. Yes, like which, like the passive voice and the type of passive voice in a test, right? Very good, guys. Very good. Now let's move on to the next exercise before. All right, the next exercise is this one. Take a look. Rewrite the sentences, these 7 sentences, into passive. They are inactive and you have to put it into passive. Like for example, Douglas Copeland made the name Generation X famous through his novel Generation X, Tales for an Accelerated Culture. And here is the passive version. The name Generation X was made famous by Copeland's novel. That's what you got to do. So we have here number 2. Sometimes the media invent names for different generations. How can be the passive form of this active sentence? Let me give you some help.
Teacher,
Yes, miss?
maybe sometimes the media is invented.
No. Let me help you, right? Here. What then or who receives the action of inventing?
Names for different generations.
All right. If you know that, then names for different generations. Continue.
Names for different generations are invented by the media.
Perfect, right? Perfect. Names for different generations are invented by the media. When you don't know something and when you feel confused, guys, make this question. Please locate the verb and ask yourself, what or who receives the action of, right? And then you may see the answer straight away. All right, let's continue. Number 3. Newsweek magazine used the term Generation 9/11 in 2001. Passive voice, please. Passive voice of this active voice sentence.
The term Generation 9/11 was used in 2001.
All right, was used in 2001. Very good. If you want to use by, was used by Newsweek magazine in 2001. Very good, miss. Excellent. All right, number 4. Someone gave the people growing up after the word, the name, baby boomers. Passive, please. Do you need help here? Someone gave the people growing up, someone gave the people growing up after the war the name baby boomers. Now, let me help you. Who or what then is receiving the action of giving here? Who receives the action or what thing receives the action of giving? Well, no, it's receiving because it's the past. Received the action of giving.
The people.
Right, you got it. The people growing up after the war. In Spanish, la gente o las personas que crecieron después de la guerra. All right? So that's the receiver. Now, the people growing up after the war, what? Continue with it. So guys,
Given
Yeah.
the name baby boomers.
great. So the people growing up after the war were given the name baby boomers. Good. Number 5. In the future, people will know today's babies as Generation Z. All right, put it to passive. All right, I'm going to help you one more time. All right, here. All right. Who or what receives the action of knowing? Who or what receives the action of knowing, guys?
People?
People receive the
People.
action? No, people
No.
performs the action. Who receives the action? Take a look.
Baby.
Today's babies. All right. So the passive voice is today's babies. What? Today's babies
Will know as Generation Z.
Z. Will be known. Recuerden que no pueden volarse el verbo to be porque si lo hacen no es pasivo, ¿cierto? So, today's babies will be known as Generation Z. All right, number 6. William Strauss and Neil Howe wrote a book about millennials. Millennials rising, the next great generation. All right, so passive voice of this one. I think this one is very easy.
A book was written about millennials rising the next great generation.
Great. If you want to mention the person, by William
By-
Strauss and
and
Neil
then-
Howe. Very good, Miss Valeria. 7. Sometimes people call the generation born from 1910 to 1920 the greatest generation. Who or what receives the action of calling?
The generation is called. mm,
This one, right? This part right here. Take a look.
yes.
The generation born from 1910 to 1920. All right?
Mm.
That's the receiver of the action. All right. Then the passive voice. The generation born from 1910 to 1920.
Was called
All right. Was called
the greatest generation.
great, miss. The greatest generation. Very good. And the last one, 8. Older people have always criticized, has always criticized younger people for their bad behavior. This one is easy.
Younger people are always, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Have, take a look. This is present perfect. So younger people
Have always, I don't. mm,
have always what? Something is missing. Be
Have always been
criticized. Being.
criticized.
Miss Valeria, recuerda usar siempre el verbo to be. Si lo vuelas, deja de ser voz pasiva de inmediato. All right? So, younger people have always been criticized, all right, for their bad behavior, by older
people.
Excellent, right? Just like that. All right, guys, these are the answers. All the answers you gave. I'm sorry, this is not what I'm supposed to show you. This. All right, here, take a look. These are all the ones. Younger people have always been criticized by older people for their bad behavior, right? Take a look at this. This is how you use it. And these are all the answers right here. So guys, that was it. This is the end of today's topic. We have already finished, right? And well, I hope this topic was clear. So was it clear, guys? Or do you have any questions about the topic? I think you need more practice, but you're going to find a lot of practice in the platform in this lesson number 9. But do you have any question that you'd like to ask me? Questions? No questions. All right. So guys, this is it. And this is it for this week, right? We have already finished.